What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Hawk Talk on Melrose. Got sleepy Tyler over here. Just woke up
Yeah.
from a nap, and we're about ready to kick out another episode. Weeks are flying by. We are now what, in week 6, I think, already of college football. Just crazy. So, what's going on, man? How's
Oh
your day
God,
going?
throwing me under the bus to start the episode already, huh? Don't tell my
Well,
boss that. No, I was working, obviously, not napping. So no, I got off a little bit early today and thought, you know what, I'm gonna take a nice nap. So
yep.
but no, I'm ready to go. Obviously big news in college football this week with some firings in the kind of
Yeah,
the new
crazy.
coaching carousel type, and obviously big news out of Wisconsin, so we'll get into that, I'm sure. And obviously, big game this weekend for Iowa. Obviously, another big night game. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, we couple of days ago, we're feeling pretty bad, and then it's like a new day almost. Feel
Yeah.
a little bit. I mean, it's for me anyway. That always happens for me after a loss. Feel really down, and then I start getting a little optimistic and start feeling better. And
Hey, that's
sometimes that's
better
how.
than yeah, that's better than what the other way is.
Yeah,
So it could be worse.
exactly. So let's see what we're gonna talk about today on today's episode. Yeah, you nailed it. We're going to talk a little Wisconsin football, firing Paul Chryst, which was very surprising. I thought if they were going to do anything, it was going to be until after the year, kind of see how this year plays out. So we'll get to talk a little bit about that. Of course, we can't go an episode without talking about the offense. The accountability is kind of what I want to talk about today, because I kind of found what Ferentz said yesterday kind of annoyed me a little bit. We're going to talk about breaking the offensive tendencies. So, once again, got to talk a little offense. No defense, though. Well, when your defense is pretty good, you don't really need to talk about that. We're going to preview Illinois, give our prediction, and then something that we haven't really done yet is talk about the Big Ten landscape and how, well, kind of how I see it, or what I shouldn't say how I think it's going to look. It's what what I am hoping for. So we'll get into that, and then we'll finish the episode off with wager winners. Something that maybe we need to stop doing because we're not very good at it. I know you're better than me this year so far, Tyler.
Uh,
But man, I've really hit a rough patch, and so I keep saying, I need like a undefeated week, and then I end up getting maybe one. So this week I'm gonna reverse jinx or
yeah,
reverse my
sure.
college
Let's
thing,
hope
and
we
I'm gonna
go
say
0 and 5.
I'm
Yes,
hoping
yes.
I go 0-5 this week just to
That's
keep the
right.
train rolling. So that's why I'm gonna do that. So yeah, let's talk a little Paul Chryst getting fired at Wisconsin. Something where, like I said, very surprising. This was, if you're watching on YouTube right now, you can obviously see this. But his record at Wisconsin, 67-26. He was third all time in school history with 67 wins. He's the third coach in modern Big Ten history to win at least 50 games in his first 5 seasons as head coach. I think Urban Meyer was number 1 with like 60 some. He's 6-1 in bowl games, and he has 2 New Year's Six wins, and he gets fired. My initial reaction, because I always like to, when I think of this, I always like to tie Iowa into this. And I don't obviously want Ferentz to ever get fired. I'm not saying that. But when I first heard of this, I said Wisconsin has higher standards than Iowa does. It is they're not a program of let's win 8-9 games, go to Outback Bowl, hopefully win that, or go to Holiday Bowl. They are a program that wants to win Big Ten championships and wants to make it to New Year's Six games, and possibly obviously make it to the playoffs. That's everyone's goal. But at least, win the division and go to the Big Ten championship game and win that. And, that's their big goal. And obviously that's our goal too. But it just seems like we're okay with being somewhat like mediocre. And before you say, or before anyone says, well, we won the West last year. We got to 10 wins. Okay, yeah, the first time since 2015. Right now, we're on pace to go there every 6 years. Like is that
Right.
good? I mean, yeah, it's better than like North or like Nebraska has done or Illinois, but like I don't know. I hold Iowa to a high standard, and that's really not that good, especially when you're talking about a division that's really not great. Now if we were in the Big Ten East, it'd be a different story. But we're playing the Minnesotas of the world. We're playing Northwesterns of the world. And yeah,
Sure.
like there are some years where some of those teams are decent, but to go every 6 or so years, that's kind of like the standard that we're at. And so with Wisconsin, they're saying we're not happy with that. We need more than that. And maybe this will backfire at Wisconsin. I don't know. Same thing with like Nebraska, with Scott Frost. I mean, that needed to be done. He was a terrible coach, but you never know like who the next head coach, like if they're going to be able to
Sure.
turn things around at Wisconsin. You're not really turning really anything around. That's the thing. But that's just my initial reaction to all this was Wisconsin just has higher standards. And with all that, I'm not saying I want Ferentz gone, but kind of the next topic we're going to talk about is accountability of the offense is we need to see change on the offensive side. And there's just nothing. I mean, it's the same old with Iowa. So I give props to Wisconsin. Like I said, might backfire on them, might not, but like I said, their standards I think are higher than Iowa's.
You make a good point, Collin. I think as Iowa fans, especially this year and how we're struggling offensively, right? And how we've struggled the last how many years? We look at a team like Wisconsin who's really not that dissimilar, right? Like we're pretty
Very
similar
similar
in
programs.
right in terms of maybe they get a little bit better recruits, but generally overall, I think, Midwest school, recruits under recruits, maybe some underrated guys that turn out to be a lot better than expected, develops offensive linemen, develops
Yep.
develops players kind of known for that, known for the run game, known for play action off of that.
Can I add one
Yeah,
quick thing, like
go for it.
5-second thing?
Jump in.
You're making a really good point because both programs are very similar. The only thing I will say is Wisconsin seems like they do it slightly better than us. I mean, but
Yes.
we are like the same exact program.
Right.
But
I'm talking, yep, in terms of the way it's structured.
Yeah.
It reminds you a lot of Wisconsin. But yes, for some reason they do it a little bit better, I feel like, up in Madison. And the reason for that, and I think you're right, they do it a little bit better, and they're realizing like, why would we wait till next year to get this worked, to fix this problem? This is not working. And they're saying, okay, we're starting off, we lost to what? Washington State got, lost to that team offensively, did not put up a great performance. Lost
like
last
17,
week.
14.
Lost last week to Illinois. Brett Bielema comes to town, and I actually watched the Joel Klatt show, good podcast. Obviously, he's the one who announces last week's game versus Michigan. If you guys were watching at home, you know who I'm talking about. Joel Klatt, really, really good insight from him, and he gave some good perspective on it. And he's like, listen, I think the icing on the cake was Brett Bielema comes to town. They don't like Brett Bielema up in Madison anymore, and he kind of boat raced them. Right, they won, they dominated them. And that was just kind of a signal like, okay, it ain't working right now. Their head coach now, especially another good point with NIL and with, other people, having influence on kind of the program from outside donors and things like that. He was saying like, too, like, he's like, there's more influence than just the athletic director being like, oh, we're really bad, we're going to fire the coach. Like, they want to make sure that people are still donating, people are still happy and stuff like that. And they have a defensive coordinator right now in Jim Leonard, who's 39 years old, has been there and has had plenty of other head coaching opportunities and has stayed at Wisconsin. He played at Wisconsin, and now he gets his turn basically like an interview the rest of the season. We're at week 6.
Yep.
We're basically halfway through. See how he does. And it's kind of like a little job interview, basically, to see if he can do anything with this team. Listen, the West is still wide open, so it's not like they're completely out of it. And so that's kind of a little bit of what I heard as well, from what Joel was saying. But no, I 100% agree with you, Collin. Like, you automatically think of Iowa because of how we're struggling, right? You look at a team like Wisconsin, you're like, oh my gosh, they fired him after the success that he's had. Yeah, they did. He was actually, I think, partly responsible for the offense. And the offense has not been good in Wisconsin as of this year.
No.
And they made a change.
Well, honestly, as of late, you go back even
as
like
of
last
late,
year in
sure.
2022, they've really struggled.
And and I also forgot to mention they got embarrassed on national TV versus Ohio State this year. So
Yeah.
they've had a couple of really bad performances, and they were like, okay, enough's enough. We got to make a change. We got to try to salvage even this season a little bit because, like
Yep.
I said, the West is still open. So you think of Iowa in this situation, you're almost like jealous in a way, right? Like not saying again that we should fire Kirk, but almost like, gosh, I wish we could make a change to our offensive coaching staff because they're underperforming.
Yeah.
Um,
And
and that
that
leads into the
ties
next
that ties
into
into the next topic
the
with the
next topic.
accountability.
And if you've listened to any episode, you have heard me say these words. I just wish there was some accountability. You've heard
Yeah.
me say that time and time
Like
again on this podcast, and so I'm glad we're going to talk about it.
I would love for fans to swallow this pride and just and take in, the accountability of what's going on in the offense. Like I said, like the media, like no one asks these questions. If I was the AD, like Gary Barta, it seems like he doesn't care.
Yeah.
If I was in Gary Barta's shoes, I would be going to the press. I would be talking, like addressing these issues because I think as a fan base, like we're just, I mean, for me, I think I'm more mad just that there's just no one like Ferentz it acts as if like nothing's wrong. And
Yeah.
that's what annoys me because once again, if it was just a 1-year sample, it's whatever. But this is going back. I mean, honestly, it's gone back the last like decade, but really the last 5-6 years under Brian. And there's just no accountability. And so we're going to get into that here soon. But one thing I want to talk about is what is the better job now? Is it Wisconsin or Nebraska? If you were a head coach and you got called from both ADs, where would you go?
I mean, my first initial reaction to this question would be like, well, maybe there's more pressure to win at Wisconsin. I don't know if that's true because I think the recent hires at Nebraska have not been good
No.
and they have gotten canned, right? So I don't know. I think there's pressure to win at both programs. Both, well, Wisconsin is competing for championships while Nebraska is trying to compete in the Big Ten because they haven't yet since they've joined, really. And so, I mean, me personally, I mean, I don't know. I would say Wisconsin's probably the better job for me. I don't like Nebraska, but I just think from an overall like structural standpoint, Wisconsin, does things the right way. I feel like, they recruit well. And if you can get a good coach to come to Wisconsin, I think it's shown you can win at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So I do think, like I said, I do think they are hoping for Jim Leonard, the defensive coordinator, who's taking over now to become that next head coach. I think they're wanting to hire within, but I do think Wisconsin has the better job.
Yeah. I think it's just that's a tough question. It just kind of depends on who you ask. I think when you look at where the programs are at, obviously, yes, Wisconsin is in a much better shape than Nebraska is in terms of just the program itself. Like any coach going in there, it's going to be a lot tougher at Nebraska than at Wisconsin because it's not like Wisconsin is a terrible team right now. I mean, they're still a decent team, I should say. Nebraska is god awful. Now they did win last weekend. They won as if they won the national championship, or that's how they acted. But
well, as I say, they do have a loyal fan base. I mean, they show up. So
yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. So you have like Madison, Lincoln. I mean, Madison's from what I've heard, I've never been there, a really good college town. So that's number one. The fan bases, though, I would probably take Nebraska. I just think they're more loyal. You look at Wisconsin, you look at like students don't show up ever, student section. I mean, there's a lot of empty seats. And even when Wisconsin's good, Nebraska, they can be terrible. Well, they are terrible this year going to the Indiana game. They sell out that game. There wasn't a seat open, and they're 1-3 going in that game. So the fan base is very loyal. Nebraska is also getting building a new football facility that's going to be the best football facility in the nation here in a couple of years. Well, they're building it right now. So like your facilities are going to be a major upgrade. So it's just a tough question. I mean, I would personally probably go to Wisconsin just because it wouldn't be as hard, I think, to turn it around as Nebraska. But Nebraska, I think, does have more resources. I think with money-wise, Nebraska, they have a lot of big donors. So the resources, the facilities, the fan
good
base,
tradition. I mean, they have
probably
a great tradition,
better at
obviously.
Nebraska. But just in terms of like how hard it would be to turn around, I mean, I'd probably pick Wisconsin. So I don't know. I guess that question is just like, it just depends on who you're asking. Cause I think
depends on what you view as a pro
way.
or a con.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the Iowa offense and the accountability that we were just talking about. So, what made me think of this topic, or what made me want to do this topic, is because yesterday I was listening to the Ferentz presser. Someone asked
Mhm.
him, "Would you ever anticipate changing up your staff in the middle of the season?" And he said something about along the lines of "for what purpose," and then he kind of went on, but he said "for what purpose," and this goes back to what we were just talking about a couple minutes ago. Very annoying that parents,
Yeah.
coaching staff, Gary Barta, they just act they're like blind and they just think that there is nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Or if they do think there is something wrong, they just won't say anything and they just act like nothing's wrong. Um, I mean, that could be the case. But it's just for me, it's just very annoying that no one can step up to the plate, address the situation. I would feel so much better about things if Ferentz or if Gary Barta or someone would come out and talk about what's going on, why this is not shouldn't be happening, and we're gonna do these steps to fix this instead of just acting like everything's okay. Like
Yeah.
um practice were good though, right? Like I just hate all that. Like
Yeah.
it's just at some point I want to see someone come out and actually talk about what's going on, what they're going to do to change it, how they're going to change it. And once again, Ferentz, swallow your pride because I know that's what this entire thing is just him being prideful. He doesn't want to admit that he's wrong. He doesn't want to admit that maybe the fan base is right in terms of okay, yeah, maybe we should make a change at the offensive coordinator or change up the offense. Like you just know his pridefulness is getting in the way with all this. It's just annoying.
Yeah, 100%, man. The fact that they don't even acknowledge that it's really an issue that they I mean they know it's an issue. But like you said, the questions like so somebody asked, would you ever anticipate changing up your staff in the middle of the season? They asked the tough question like they're like, okay, like we know it's not good, so we're
Yeah.
gonna we're gonna ask this question. And they just totally dismiss it. And it'd be one thing to be like, no, we're not gonna dismiss it. Here's why. Give your reason why you're not going to.
Yep. Well,
Lay out, lay out, lay out the steps as to why you're going to say no. We're keeping the staff because we don't want the uncertainty, with the players and things like that during the season. We'll go ahead and assess the situation after the season. Blah blah blah. Give us some sort of insight into at least saying it's a problem and that you're going to look into it and fix it at some point.
so
Go
with the
ahead.
media asking that question, like I like it, but they kind of just backed off after he said for what purpose. I
Yeah,
would have
they were
liked to
easy. Sure.
whoever would have asked that question, I would have been I wish they would have been like, well, Kirk, the offense, and then give these facts. Like the offense is
Sure.
dead last in this. The
Yep.
offense under Brian Ferentz and from since 2017 is this, is that. Clearly things aren't working.
No, and and
Like
and the
they just
correct, and it's not getting better from a week to week basis, right? We're not seeing any sort of really improvement
yeah.
from week 1 to week 5. So
Yep.
I'm going to bring this tweet up here, Con. You sent me this, and I just thought it'd be perfect to kind of add to this as well. So Iowa center Logan Jones says the offense is picking up steam in practice. I'm super excited about this team. Spencer's looking so much better. Our receivers, we're starting to click on so many cylinders. And Hawkeye Nation subtweets it and goes, "Good thing we're still in fall camp." Oh wait, I'm being told it's week 6 now. So again, it's this sort of mindset from everyone within the program that like they keep saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in practice we're looking really good. We're gonna start clicking
It's
here.
almost as if they're getting like brainwashed from that.
Yeah, exactly. You almost wonder, like, is that coach speak that they're like learning? Like, are they being taught to how to talk to the media? Like, I almost wonder, and I just I don't know. I just wish there would be some, like you said, some accountability. Someone has to answer for some of these questions, and
Yeah.
I maybe they're not doing it because, like they said, they don't want to disrupt anything during the season. But the way I look at it, your offense is already last. You can't get any worse.
Worse.
Why
Yep.
not? Why not? Why not answer for some of these questions, especially if you're not going to make a change? You
Yeah.
should have an answer for it at least. I
And
think.
and it's getting to the point like you could make the case. You could argue that last game versus Michigan, the offense did look a little bit better. And I get all that, but at the same time, we still had 0 points going in like the
We were
fourth quarter.
down 20-0.
Like,
we were out of it. We
yeah.
lost.
And
Yeah.
yeah, you could say the offense, and I will admit, like since week 0 or week 1, we have gotten better on offense. Like week 0 and even the Iowa State game, we were
Oh yeah.
horrific. So we have gotten better, but it's still at the place where I'm never gonna feel comfortable. Like this weekend, I'm not gonna feel comfortable with the offense.
No.
Like every time
No.
they trot out there, I'm gonna think it's a 3 and out, or we're gonna have to punt the football. Um,
Yeah.
So with the accountability with the offense, you go back to 2017, and we talked about this all the time, and I don't want to spend much time on it, but under Brian Ferentz, since 2021, 2017 to 2021, total yards per game, we have averaged 102nd in the country. Now, if you take into account this year and probably where we're going to finish, probably 125, 130-ish, that number is going to go down.
Yeah.
So going back to your job, my job, right? If we had results like that over a course of a 6-year period, yeah, we would not have a job. 1 year, like I said, it'd probably be kind of a slap on the wrist type of thing where, hey, kick it in gear or else, or, kind of something like that. And then after that, it's like, yeah, you're pretty much, but these many years, wow, I wish I was in a profession where I could go like 6 years.
Well,
I would
to say
be
6
stress
years
free.
of a yearly review, and every year you look at it and you sit down with your boss and you go, oh, maybe next year. I'd love to work at Iowa too, I guess. Dang.
Yep. There was a tweet then also on this PowerPoint. 2019, 3 out of the 5 Iowa starting offensive line are now starters in the NFL. Tristan Wirfs, Alaric Jackson, Tyler Linderbaum. And we finished 97th in the country in rushing offense. And that included a running back that is now in the NFL as well. Now he's a practice squad, Tyler Goodson, but he's in the NFL. So you had 3 out of the 5 offensive linemen, and you have a guy that's playing practice squad, Tyler Goodson, and we finished 97th in rushing offense. Like, that's a question I wish the media would ask parents to be like, what's wrong with that? Like, that picture does not seem right.
The math doesn't add up. Nope.
There is something that is not right there. Is it we're utilizing the fullback too much and we're just too much 21 personnel? Is it the zone blocking scheme? Like, what is it? There's something not right with this.
It is, and the answer, and to me, lies right in front of you. It's the scheme. It's how we are running the football. It doesn't work. You have Tyler Linderbaum last year, the best center in college football. You have, and even at the time, very good center. You have Tristan Wirfs, who is considered probably the best right tackle in the NFL right now. And Alaric Jackson ain't half bad either. But was probably considered maybe one of the best linemen at Iowa at one point. So you're exactly right. The individual players are amazing, and yet we still finished 97th in rushing. It ain't working. It ain't what we're doing. It is not
up there.
Yeah. And we're so vanilla on offense and how we run the football that, when you have 10 guys loaded in the box coming downhill at you, no matter what you're running, it's not going to be great.
Yeah. I saw a tweet. I think, God, who did I see it from? Because you know how like there's some people, and I'm not this person, like where it's like abandon the pro style offense. And no, I want to keep running the pro style.
Yeah.
But someone tweeted where Iowa's not even really running the pro style anymore correctly. And if you think about it, that is so true, because you look at the NFL, you got teams like San Francisco. San Francisco's a really good team. They run like a pro style offense, but they do it so efficiently that Iowa, it's to the point where it's not even like a pro style offense anymore. It's like worse than a pro style offense. And I just don't get it. I really don't. I think it ties in with the next slide, which is breaking the tendencies. I saw a stat where in shotgun snaps for Iowa, 80% of the shotgun snaps are passing plays. That just should not be it. Because
how is that not closer to 50%? Right.
Yes.
Right.
Because as a defense, you see us line up in shotgun, 8 times out of 10, we are passing the football. Okay. Yep. Fullback in the game. Now, I don't know the percentage, but I am just going to go on a limb and say 7 or 8 times out of 10, when we have a fullback, it's more than likely a run play.
Sure.
I would probably say that. Another tendency that, once again, I don't know the percentage, but I know it's really high up there. When we get no yardage on first down, we run the ball on second down. So if we do a pass play on first down, gets no yardage, we'll do a run play on second down. And then screen plays, we only do screen plays when it's like 3rd and 15.
Yeah.
Or
When it's out of the realm of
second and 17. We will never do a screen play. Now I'm talking running back screens because we sometimes do receiver screens, but running back screens. And if you ever thought about it, we always get blown up on screen plays. Well, I wonder why. Because we only do it when we're behind the sticks. And then the last thing, for me personally, less 21 personnel, which is obviously running back, fullback, tight end, and more 11 personnel, which is just running back, one tight end, one running back, 3 receivers. And I would love nothing more than running a pistol formation, 11 personnel, 3 receivers out there, spread the defense out. You still have your tight end. And yeah, I would love nothing more, Tyler. But once again, we do things way too difficult. And that's the reason why this offense is bad. It's not the players. Like, we have decent players. We have good running backs. We have decent receivers. Now the quarterback situation is kind of iffy, but we do things so difficult. Like we try to make things so difficult, and gets very annoying real quick. And I think it comes down to, just like I said, tendencies, just trying to do too much 21 personnel where we're getting 9 guys in the box, different things like that. But man, wouldn't that just be nice, going out there and being in a formation like that?
Well, you see a lot of teams doing that now. Even teams that, do a lot of shotgun, or even teams like what we saw. What did we see this year? We saw Northwestern week 1 run some pistol. We saw, I think, oh gosh, I know like Minnesota runs like it. At least it helps the run game. It gets you that full head of steam with your running back to kind of hit the hole. And I think
ain't bad in the passing game too. I just think
the passing game,
having to step back, especially when the offensive line's not that great, you'd rather be in pistol or shotgun. So when your offensive line's not that great, or when your quarterback's not that good in pocket awareness, you would think that you'd want to be in shotgun or pistol more often than having to drop back.
Right. And go back to the previous slide for a sec, Collin. If you're an Iowa fan and you've attended games, or you watch TV, watch these games on TV, these are things that Collin, we talk about this stuff every week. We see this on TV. We see this, in the stadium when we're there. We talk about it all the time. Fullbacks in the game, guarantee it's going to be a run play. Especially with the new motion, the fullback motion to one side, we literally run to the same side that we motion to. It's like it's literally telling the defense where we're going to run to. And I didn't see that much last game, so I just wonder if they finally got smart and were like, maybe we shouldn't tell them, where
that. And we always run on the short side of the field.
We always run on the short side of the field, exactly. Where we make the sideline a 12th defender, which makes great sense, right? So, shotgun, like you said, we talk about it every week on this podcast. We'd love to see more running out of the shotgun. Well, there's the stats. 80% of the time we are passing, so that confirmed what we saw out on the field. Screen plays, go watch. We overthrow a running back on a screen play, or we get blown up. We've had both things happen this year. So no yardage on first down. That's been a theme for how many years? It seems like we were talking about that a lot last year. It's just things that you think we'd be able to clean up a little bit. We'd be able to figure out a way to be a little bit more creative and maybe, like you said, go away from what we're so used to and what's not working. This is stuff that we do on a consistent basis every week, and we have one of the worst offenses in college football. Maybe, just maybe, it doesn't work. I know it's a big. I know it's a mind-blowing secret that I'm telling everyone here, but
I would just love a day, Tyler, where we don't have to talk about the offense so much. Where it's
I know,
decent.
Dude. I know.
We're not. We tried, like I said, just our offense tries to make things so difficult, so complicated.
They do.
When you look at teams like Georgia Southern that goes in Nebraska, and I get it, Nebraska defense sucks, but Georgia Southern puts up 600 yards. If we went and played Nebraska that same night, we'd put up 250 yards.
100%.
So what's the difference? It's not like Georgia Southern has just a bunch of way better
Correct.
guys than us. Yeah, they might have some better skill position players than us, because they recruit down in the South. Like, I get that, but overall, I
Overall,
guarantee you our offensive roster is better than Georgia Southern's. So what are they doing different? What
right,
are some of these other teams that are putting up 400, 500 yards a game?
right,
What are they doing? Well, number one, they don't make things difficult, and I just feel like we do, and it goes
exactly,
back to like the tendencies. We use a fullback way too much. We're the
right.
only us and Wisconsin are like the only two teams that use a fullback as much as we do, and it invites, like I said,
Well,
it invites 8, 9,
yeah,
10 guys in the box, and it just doesn't work. It just
like
doesn't.
week one, we're we are a lot, we are a lot better skill position wise and recruiting wise, and as a program, we're head and shoulders better than South Dakota State. But why did South Dakota State potentially almost beat us? Because we like you said, we are so bad on offense that they don't have to do anything special on defense. As long as they know how to tackle, they're fine.
They're good. Yep. Yeah.
And you're pretty good at tackling when you invite 10 guys, when you're rushing 10 defenders, 9 defenders all the time, you're going to make a tackle pretty easily.
Yeah.
So like you said, it's the style in which we play. It's the plays that are being called out on the field that are questionable half the time. And yeah, obviously it doesn't help when your quarterback has what seems like no confidence, and is missing easier throws that should not miss when you're as experienced as you are. And it's a combination of a lot of things. And like you said, I just wish there was some accountability, and I just don't know if we're going to get it, unfortunately,
No,
especially during the season. I don't think we will. If we haven't gotten it yet, I don't know what's going to
it's not going to
change the
happen.
coach's mind to this week or next week. So
Yeah.
yeah, I do like the idea of a pistol formation as well. Anything right now. If Iowa would say, okay, we're scrapping our entire offense, we're going to complete shotgun for this game. Again, I'm not saying that's necessarily the answer. Like you said, I'm not trying to abandon the pro style. But if they were saying we're running pistol, we're running shotgun because we see something against Illinois, I would act. And we lost. At least we lost trying something different.
Yeah, I agree. And
Right.
instead of just doing the same old,
Instead
expecting
of
different
just
results.
running I formation and
That's that's the
getting 50 yards rushing a game. That's not what I'm here to see. So I don't
that's the
know. Maybe,
definition of being an idiot, is doing the same thing and
yeah,
expecting the same results every single time.
yeah.
That is a
And
definition of
Wisconsin, and
being
like
an
you said,
idiot.
Wisconsin. I mean, I don't want to go back too much on previous topics, but Wisconsin, and at Wisconsin, there is some accountability right now. So you just wish, like you said, you wish you could see some of that in Iowa City right now, but
Yeah,
it's to be determined. So
exactly. Well, let's get into the Illinois preview a little bit and then give our prediction. Just real quick, a little bit about Illinois. Who would have thought that? Well, number one, that they are favorites against us this year. They are 4-1. Their only loss is to Indiana, which still don't get how they lost that game. Oh wait, it's because I bet that game, so of course they lost. That's why. They are the number one in Big Ten in scoring D. Number two in the Big Ten in total D. So, God, do you think our offense can be able to put up a lot of points against them? They are number one in the Big Ten in rushing defense. Once again, our rushing offense not very good. So this does not, just looking at this itself, is making things a little difficult for us probably. They're number one in Big Ten in rushing offense. Their quarterback's actually not bad. Tommy DeVito, he's Syracuse transfer. He's completing almost 70% of his passes, 9 touchdowns for the year and two interceptions. They obviously have Chase Brown, running back, averaging 146.6 yards per game. Stud receiver Isaiah Williams, and then their defensive tackles. And I add this in here because our guard play and our center play is not very good. And so this gets me worried. Their two defensive tackles have combined 40 QB pressures this year, which is the most in the country at defensive tackle. And they do a lot of run blitzes as well, as something I read as well. So I added that in there with the defensive tackles because that is an area where I'm still very worried at with Iowa. Obviously, Logan Jones is improving. Our two guards we're getting better, but that really, especially when we are not in shotgun and when we are doing drop backs
yeah,
under center, that's what worries me. And so you would think with Iowa scouting that they would see that and be like, yeah, we should probably run more out of or pass more out of the shotgun. Because if these guys, if they're combining for 40, I mean, that's a lot in 5 games. That could not be good news for us. So some trends with this game: Illinois 7-1 against the spread in the last 8 games. Iowa 7-2-1 in the last 10 road games. Kind of going back to what you and I were talking about a couple weeks ago. Iowa just plays better on the road, and that's why. And we'll talk about it. That's why I feel somewhat good about this game. The under is 5-1 in Iowa's last 6 games. So keep betting the under, boys, until we start improving on offense. And then if you don't remember the last 2 games versus Illinois, 2020, we actually started the game down 14-0. And then we ended up going on a run here where we won 35-21. That was actually probably one of Petrus's best games. Now, he started the game off really bad, but after we got down 14-0, but he ended up actually playing a really good game. And I still remember that was kind of the game because it was middle of the 2020 season. That's when I kind of was like, oh, maybe, Petrus, like his first year.
COVID,
better. I really thought that we were maybe starting to see glimpses of a quarterback that's going to be pretty good for us. Well, that didn't really happen. 2021, we start the game down 10-0, and if it really wasn't for Charlie Jones's kickoff return, could have maybe gone south. Brett Bielema did not play this game. Coached this game. He had COVID, but we ended up winning that game 33-23. I think Jack Campbell had like a pick 6 at the end to make it
he did.
a lot.
It was a
it was like 26-30, 23 or something like that.
Yeah, it was a lot closer, but we had that pick 6. Yep.
Yeah.
To seal it.
So preview and prediction, Tyler, starting with you.
Dude, I flipped so much. So we talk about, how after a loss, especially when the offense didn't play well, we always feel a certain way. So I remember after the game against Michigan, me and you were like, at least I was like, I don't know how we're beating Wisconsin next week. And we looked up at the scoreboard. Illinois, sorry. Wisconsin's on my mind. We were scoreboard watching, and we saw Illinois kick the crap out of Wisconsin at Wisconsin. Yeah. And I go, how are we going to win this game? And I've gone back and forth all week, and I felt really good. And then I've kind of reminded myself of how we are on offense. And so I finally settled on the fact that I just truly believe, again, this is one of the more winnable games that Iowa has on its schedule. We've had success against Illinois, especially in recent years. We haven't, like you just mentioned, we haven't gotten off to maybe the best starts, but we finished really well. I don't know how capable we are this year if we start down 14-0, 10-0. I don't think there's not good. So I just truly believe that this is a game where you have to win. You just mentioned Petrus plays better on the road. We've talked about this. I think he doesn't have the pressure of 70,000 Iowa fans getting ready to boo him off the field. I think he does play better on the road. And like I said, I just feel like this is a must-win game because, again, it doesn't get any easier, especially in a couple of weeks against Ohio State. So obviously I'm leaning towards, and I'm going to say Iowa is going to win this game 16-13. It's going to hit the under. We just mentioned it. Bet the under as long as, this offense and defense is what it is at Iowa.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's false sense of hope. Maybe it's wishful thinking. I believe that this is a game that they have to win. A game that, again, and because it just doesn't get any easier. So I know I'm kind of rambling here, but 16-13 Iowa. Okay. And I'm praying I'm right, because I honestly don't feel good about this game at all.
No, I don't really necessarily either. I do and I don't. I didn't obviously know your prediction because we don't write this stuff down. So I was actually curious to see where you were going because, yeah, you are right. After the Michigan game, we did not feel very good about this game. And I think once you kind of take a deep breath and you kind of move on, it's kind of like going back to just trying to stay optimistic, after the Michigan game or after any loss, you just feel like, oh, the season's over with. And then you kind of wake up the next day and you're like, okay, we still have a lot of things in front of us. It's not like we're 0-5, right? And so, but yeah, with this game, the one thing I will say, Illinois doesn't really have much of a home field advantage. There's going to be a lot of Iowa fans there. I mean, it's probably going to be sold out just because Illinois is obviously a night game but that stadium is not a hostile environments, kind of like the Rutgers, right? And I just
Right.
think Iowa does play better on the road. There's just something about it. I just think the players get more like fired up to play on the road. And once again, Petras just plays better, which I like that. I think Illinois too. I think last week, sometimes like after a big win, sometimes things can maybe go a little south the next week.
Yeah.
And not like, so I'm not saying that they're just going to totally be terrible, but sometimes you don't look as good. It's kind of like sometimes like with the Vegas numbers, sometimes after a big time win or a game that you shouldn't have won and you blew out the guy, sometimes the line's a little inflated the following week.
Yeah.
Public sees what happened last week, and then they think, oh, this team is really good or back. And looking at the box score of that Illinois game, I thought Wisconsin had 3 turnovers. I think that was a big thing. Now, Illinois won 34-10, but you look at the total yardage, you look at the turnovers, the total yardage was almost about the same. It was just the 3 turnovers. Now, I didn't go back and actually watch that game, so I don't know where those turnovers happened. I wish I did now that I think about it, because that really would have gave me probably a good insight of kind of where,
Yeah.
to see if maybe that was a big reason why Illinois blew them out. But yeah, I just think with Iowa, where are we going to score? That's the question where I'm.
Question we ask every week.
Yeah.
Yep.
And with Illinois, their defense is good. But at the same time, this team is beatable. We saw it week 1 when they went on the road at Indiana and lost to a not very good Indiana team. Indiana is not a good team. They got blown out at Cincinnati last week, and they lose by 2 touchdowns against not a good Nebraska team. Now, Nebraska, like I said, I said this on Sunday. You could tell that they are playing harder under Mickey Joseph, but they're not that good of a team. And so Indiana's not very good, and they beat Illinois. So Illinois is definitely a beatable team. There's no question about it.
Yep.
So Iowa just has to come in, move on from the Michigan game, got to play better on defense, got to stop the run. And I think if you can stop the run, I think you're good. I think your chances are good.
You got to stop Chase Brown. You have to.
I don't think we're going to go 2 weeks in a row with no defensive turnovers. I think we're going to find some defensive turnovers this week. And I'm going to go Iowa wins 20-17. So
okay.
I have Iowa winning this game. So
okay. Yeah, no. Well, and I was just going to say to you, Collin, and I did know about the 3 turnovers versus Wisconsin. I forgot to even mention that as well. And you're absolutely right. I mean, what did we say about the Rutgers game? A very winnable game, but you have to go in and play clean football.
Yep.
And your defense has got to step up and do what they do. And obviously they overachieved and got 2 scores, but I'm not even asking for that. You have to play clean football. You cannot give another team multiple opportunities on more opportunities on an offense just because you turned it over and gave them a short field. You can't expect to win that game. So got to play a clean game. And yeah, like you said, I'm hoping that we took something from that Michigan game at the end in the fourth quarter.
I was literally just going to say that. And
okay.
Carry it
over and build on it. Not just result back to what we saw in the first 3 quarters, but took something from that fourth quarter and utilize that in the next game and build off of it. Exactly.
I was literally just going to say that. Like, I'm hoping that we take kind of what we saw in the fourth quarter and kind of build on that into this game. And then not only that with the defense, I don't think we're going to go 2 weeks. I don't think we're going to go 2 games with Tory Taylor not being a factor. Michigan game, he wasn't a factor at all. Not saying he did he had a good punch, but nothing where, we backed them up at the 5-yard line or the 3-yard line, right? And
you didn't feel his impact as much as maybe you would in some other games. So.
And so I'm kind of with this prediction, I'm hopeful that we're going to see a couple turnovers, and then Tory Taylor is going to be a factor for us. We're going to have a couple punts within the 10-yard line or 5-yard line so, but I have Iowa winning 2017. Hopefully we're both right, and we will talk about that on Sunday. So let's move on here a little bit, and then we'll finish this podcast up. I just want to talk about the Big Ten landscape. I was thinking about this today when I was driving for my job. I was like, God, how are we going to see kind of the Big Ten looking like now? We all know USC and UCLA are obviously in it now, but I added 4 other teams because this is where I would love it to be. Okay. The 4 other teams: Stanford, Oregon, Washington, Notre Dame. So that would be 20 teams total, 4 divisions. So, and then 5 teams per division. is how I would like it. So there'd be, yeah. So that, because
Sure.
like the thing is, if you only have 2 divisions, that's just too many teams per division. You need to have it a little bit less, because if there's 10 teams, like, you can kiss Iowa doing anything
Oh,
goodbye, right? There's just too many teams in
sure.
front of them. So like, but if there's
Yeah.
only 4 other teams in your division, you can compete for, and I'll talk about that here soon. So the West Division makes sense. Washington, Oregon, Stanford, UCLA, USC, kind of like the Pac-12, that's the West Division. The Midwest is Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Northwestern. So if this was the case, Iowa would have, like I said, I mean, a real good shot of every year competing for to go on to Indy.
Right.
Then you have like the River Valley, which is Ohio State, Indiana, Purdue, Notre Dame, Illinois. So
Hmm.
you'd have like 2 really good teams, and then if Illinois can continue being decent, Purdue continue being decent, that's a pretty good division. And then you have the East, which I get it. Michigan State really aren't East Coast, but obviously they include
For
2.
this purpose,
Yeah,
yeah.
so Rutgers, Maryland, Penn State, Michigan State. So that's a pretty good conference as well. Um,
Yeah.
and then how it all worked, we would go to a 10-game conference schedule. So you'd play all your division games. So that'd be 4 games. They would protect rivals. So if you go back to like this map, like Notre Dame, Michigan, right? They're not in the same division, but we would protect that rivalry game. So they would play every year.
Yep.
Michigan, Ohio State, they're not in the same division, but we would protect that where they play every single year. You can make the case maybe Iowa, Illinois,
Yeah.
that would be protected. USC, Notre Dame, Stanford, Notre Dame, right? So some of those teams, some of those games would be protected. Maybe Penn State, Ohio State. And
Sure.
then the rest of the games, yeah, you would just play 1 or 2 other teams per division. So like every year I would play 2 teams from the West Division. So we'd play either USC or Oregon or UCLA, Stanford, right? Or
Yep.
maybe just 1, depending on how many rival games we have that are outside of our division. I would say for Iowa, we would only have like maybe 1. I would say probably Illinois. And then
Hmm.
the other games would just be, yeah, you would just pick 1 or 2 per division that you'd play. And then each division winner makes it to Indy. So the number 1 team will play the number 4 team. So how I go about that is you take the 4 records from the 4 division winners, and whoever has the best record. Now they all might have like the same record, but you'd obviously have to look at tiebreakers and stuff. So then the
Yeah,
number 1 team
exactly.
would play the number 4 team. The number 2 team would play the number 3 team. So that would be like the same weekend of the Big Ten championship game. Now 2 games, right? Afternoon game
Yep.
and then a night game. And then the
Right.
winners would play each other at the Rose Bowl like the following weekend for a Big Ten title. So it'd just be, I don't know if it would be considered the Rose Bowl, but you'd play at Pasadena for the Big Ten title,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
that's who would win it.
And you still kind of protect that sort of, because like the Big Ten was always a part of the Rose Bowl, and
Yeah.
so like you
So
get to keep that tradition, if you will, and now
yep.
that UCLA is in there too, I mean that's an added bonus too, and keep all that within the Big Ten. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. I just think it would be cool. Like, so, like let's say from the West, or like let's say this was the year. Like let's say this year. So USC would win the West. Midwest would probably, I'm just gonna say Minnesota this year.
Sure. For right now,
I
yep.
hope it was Iowa, but Minnesota. So USC, Minnesota. Ohio State would win this one, and then Michigan. And then the number 1 team would probably be Michigan. The number 4 team would probably be Minnesota. Or no, number 1 team would be Ohio State. So Ohio
State, yep.
State and Minnesota, and then
Yep.
USC, Michigan.
That'd be a dope playoff.
Would that
I mean, that'd
not
be sweet.
And then the
Oh,
winners
yeah.
would play each other. So it'd probably be, the winner would probably be Ohio State, Michigan. And even that would be great. I mean, that last game of the season is always so good. Can you imagine if they played again like 2 weeks later? Or hell, maybe they would
Yes.
play. Maybe there'd be some years where they would literally play again the following week. So,
Yep.
yeah.
No, dude, with this new with in 2024, there's a lot of possibilities the way you can go, especially now as well. Factor in a 12-team playoff. I mean, there's so many more possibilities
Yeah.
that are taking place here and what you can do kind of with the Big Ten. And I agree. I mean, I didn't even obviously look at this really in depth until now, and you make some excellent points. And I really do like the thought of something like this. I mean, that turns out to, it makes college football games very enjoyable to watch, right?
Yep.
Just a playoff format in general is more exciting. And think about now a 14 playoff within your own Big Ten division. I mean, that's so super cool.
It'd be cool. And like I said, if we went to 20 teams, which we probably will, I
Yeah.
really want to see divisions, or I would like to see 4 divisions because it'd just be too many teams.
Yeah.
If you had 2 divisions, like I said, Iowa, you might as well just say, yeah, we're never going to make the Indy because it's just too many teams. I
I've
mean, if we
also
can't,
heard, well, I've heard this too, and I don't know if you can answer this or not. Again, referencing Joel Klatt here, he thought he heard something about maybe getting rid of divisions and going to like a pod system. Is that what you're talking about here? Is that something different?
yeah, that's kind of what this is. It's more like,
Okay.
yeah, like a pod. It's like you'd have like the West as like a
Okay.
pod.
I
And,
gotcha.
and maybe, yeah, maybe that's the word to use now. Pods
Yeah,
instead of
I don't
divisions.
know. Yep.
But in it all though, would love to see that. So
Would love it.
just
Yep.
yeah, just kind of something I just put together. I was like I said, I was thinking about that today when I was driving, and kind of
But
fun
yeah, we're
topic.
headed that way.
Yeah,
And yeah, we've
and we
we've
really
wanted to
haven't.
work this. We wanted to work it in and no, yeah, this week worked out well. So I'm
We
glad
should have
we
waited till the bye week, but which
well,
speaking of which, so we'll have an episode out this weekend, obviously the
yep.
Illinois preview, but we're gonna probably take a little bit of a break. We probably won't have one next Wednesday. We'll probably take like a week long break. We need some vacation time. So we're probably
That's
not,
right.
just because there's really not, we could talk about other stuff, and then we'll probably take another break for that weekend because usually the weekends we detail the game before, but then we'll
Yeah,
be back then that following Wednesday. We'll go over anything that we kind of missed, and then obviously preview Ohio State. So that's kind of the
exactly.
plan that I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And we'll,
Talk about any news that's in college football
yeah,
with those couple of weeks, maybe some games that happen, score updates, things like that, and then yeah, preview Ohio State. So,
yep. So, all right, let's get into the wager winners. Finish this podcast off. You can
oh
start with
God,
yours.
really? Do we have to?
Yeah. Well, you're
So
doing better
as you
than
can
me.
see,
So,
I'm 10, 14, and 1 right now. So time to get on a bit of a streak. I say it every week. Maybe I'm going to use your wording. Let's go 0 and 5 this week, shall we?
might as well.
So I've got Ohio State at Michigan State minus 27. This line, again, talking about maybe a line being a little inflated. I don't know. Michigan State seems like they're not a very good team, but I just believe Ohio State's offense against a Michigan State team that's really down right now and is maybe needing a big win in a big spot. I just don't see it here. Ohio State's
No.
clicking on all cylinders, and I 27 is really not that crazy of a line in my opinion. So I'll take them on the road at Michigan State. Tennessee, I'll take a -3 at LSU. LSU coming off a big win last week against Auburn. Tennessee's offense is pretty dang good. They're a really good team. So I don't think the line's horrible. I'll take a -3 at LSU. Michigan, Indiana's banged up right now. They have a lot of injuries, and they're, you know, not a very good football team. We kind of just talked about how they've lost, you know, quite a few games, and I think the first game might have been an anomaly against Illinois. So I like Michigan on the road, 22.5. TCU at Kansas, I'm going over 68.5. I think both offenses are really, really good. And it's the Big 12, right? Not a ton of defense. I know Kansas, Iowa State was low scoring last week, but Iowa State does have a pretty decent defense. So I think that game could hit the over. And then I've got Iowa at Illinois under 36.5. I just think, according to my
Until you see it.
prediction, I said 16 to 13. That's what, 29 points. So until I see it, I hope I'm wrong. I hope Iowa comes out and we drop 30 points. But until I see it on a consistent level, with knowing how our offense is, knowing Illinois' defense, knowing our defense, special teams are going to be key again. Once again, like we say every week, I'm going under. So
Under. Yeah.
those are my
You
wager
have
winners.
to.
Yep.
So I'm not gonna give my record. No, I'm 9-16. Not good. So I'm gonna take UCLA +4 at home against Utah. I did bet. I didn't have this as a wager winner last week, but I did bet the UCLA last week, and I hit it. They were +3, I think, at home against Washington. So give me the points. Taking Washington State at USC now. USC really good football team, but in the last couple of weeks, they have, like Oregon State. They
Yep.
kind of struggled a little bit. They only beat Arizona State, which is a terrible team. They beat them by like 15 or 16 points. So like Washington State's not a bad football team. Now they went on the road at Mass, in Mass and at Wisconsin and won that game. So 13 points really isn't Yeah, give me those points. Kansas State at Iowa State. I keep riding Iowa State and I keep losing, but third time's the charm. I took them last week and I took them the week before. And I lost all, but I'm going to take them this week.
I was
Night
thinking about
game.
this game, but
Yeah,
I was just
night
like,
game, Jack Trice Stadium. They're wearing the all blacks. I know they've struggled in the past against Kansas State, but give me them winning that game. I think they're going to turn it around. I think Matt Campbell's going to have those boys ready, and I think they're going to beat Kansas State
that's a big
outright.
game
Yeah,
for Iowa
it's a
State.
huge game, and that's why I'm taking them. And like I said, night game for them. Give me the points. I think they're going to win outright. And then I'm going to take Iowa plus 3.5 at Illinois. Not even really going off my prediction. I just think with Iowa, every game is a close game, or we usually keep. I mean, obviously last week we lost, by more than by 2 touchdowns, but more times than not against teams like Illinois, teams like Rutgers, teams like Minnesota, right? It's usually pretty close. And so even if we lose, like I could see us only losing by like a field goal, like 3.5. I think that's a really good number for games that are generally pretty close and low scoring. So that's why I like that. And then TCU -7 at Kansas. I think Kansas, it's a cool story. They're 5-0. I get that. It's pretty sweet to see, but I think they're a tad bit overrated. I thought Iowa State should have easily won last week. Muff punt, 3 field goals that were missed. That would have resulted in 9 more points. And I think TCU is a really good football team. So give me, and then not only that, but what happened when Iowa State had game day back in 2019, 2021 against Iowa? They lost both times because I think it's more of a distraction for the team.
Oh, yeah, game day. Yeah, absolutely.
And I really
game day will
especially
be in
since
Lawrence.
This is the first time. You just know that this entire week it's going to be more of a distraction than anything. TCU coming in, it's kind of like Iowa going to Iowa State. No distractions for them. They come in. And so I like TCU at -7. I wish it was 6.5. And if I actually do this bet in real life, I'm probably going to buy it a 0.5 point and get it down to 6.5. Because I always hate that just -7.
7, because then you got to get to 8. You got to get to 2 scores.
If they do win,
right?
It's just by a touchdown. And then, I end up. So I'll probably buy the points for that. So that is it for this episode. I think we covered everything. Today was basketball media days. So I'm getting pumped for Iowa basketball. I really do think I know last year I felt confident and ended up being the case. I feel pretty confident about this team. I think maybe sometime we'll talk more about it, but I just think I don't know. I really like this team, and I'm looking forward to being in Madison Square Garden, Iowa Duke, December 6th, I believe it is. So I'll be going to that game.
That's awesome.
Yeah, can't wait for it.
I'm jealous.
It's gonna be fun. But I think with the starting 5, I think you got Tony Perkins, Chris Murray. I think hopefully Patrick McCaffrey gets better. I mean, he so flashes at times, but he was so inconsistent last year paying Sanford.
Right.
I know. I really like, and if, like I said, if Chris Murray can be anything like his brother, I think Tony Perkins gets better. I'm really looking forward to this year. I don't think it might not be as good as last year's team, but I think it's going to be decent. I think it's going to be about, I don't know, top. I think they're finished. I think they're projected to finish like 9th or something, but I could see them finishing like 6th or 7th in the Big Ten and being like an 8th seed in the tourney. So,
right.
No,
I'm excited as well for that. No kidding. That's right around the corner here.
Yeah, it is.
It's crazy.
All right. Well, that will be it for this episode. We'll be back on Sunday. Once again, we'll be taking a break then after that for a week or so, but we will be back on Sunday detailing Iowa, Illinois, hopefully a win in Champaign. So without further ado, thank you guys all for listening. Tyler, have a good night, and we will see you guys later. Go Hawks.
Peace.